A couple weeks ago, I was over in Toronto for the first time in quite a while. And I mean, I used to live in Toronto, and there were a handful of record stores that I used to frequent on a, shall we say, monthly basis. And that's why I have so many albums behind me. So I've kind of made a deal with myself that I wouldn't really buy any albums within this Christmas season, but I allowed myself this one little excursion. A buddy of mine, Travis, and I went down for the John Petrucci concert where he was teaming up with Mike Portnoy. We actually met with fellow nerd and music aficionado Grace Hayhurst. Her and I do a podcast, The Metalhead, together. So it was great to meet up with her, hang out, and go to some record stores. I went up to 4. I went up to the usual Sonic Boom and Rotate This, and there's a new record store in town, Cops Records. They have a location on the Danforth and on Queen West, if you are familiar with the geography of Toronto. But yeah, so I've got about, a handful of records that I bought while I was down in Toronto, and I figured this is a good time to talk about them. I'm just going to put them in order to kind of figure out where and how I want to talk about them. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay. Took a little bit of time just to organize them out. First up, let's talk about Christmas music. As you can tell from behind me, I am a huge Christmas music fan and lover. Every year I get 3 or 4 new Christmas albums. It's a little bit of a problem. And I figured I'd pick up a few new ones and a few re-releases. First up, a re-release of the Barenaked Ladies' Bare Naked for the Holidays. This is a staple for any Canadian, any lover of Christmas music. The thing that I love about this album in particular is that it's quintessentially Barenaked Ladies. It's one part goofy, off the wall, strange and weird and funny and goofball. It's one part very heartfelt, very intimate, very vulnerable, and one part just catchy pop. Very adult contemporary in that sense. I love the kind of Yamaha keyboard preset sounds that they have on here for a couple of the tracks, like Wonderful Christmas Time and Carol of the Bells and all of those kinds of things. But I also really appreciate some of the original pieces on here, like Green Christmas, The Elf's Lament with Michael Bublé on here, Footprints as well, which is a very heartfelt track from, I believe it was the keyboard player that did that one. And Sarah McLachlan actually makes an appearance on God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen and We Three Kings. As well as a number of Jewish tracks on here as well. So, you've got Hanukkah Blessings, the Dreidel song, and I have a little Dreidel, and Hanukkah, Oh Hanukkah. So, you've got the whole, holiday gamut on this. It's not just Christmas tracks, it's Barenaked for the Holidays. So, great addition, great one. I swear, I'm not going to talk as much with all the albums. The other one is the second Christmas album from Lindsey Stirling, Snow Waltz. This one's a little darker than her Warmer in the Winter. Warmer in the Winter is very bright, very colorful, very poppy, very energetic. I find Snow Waltz is a little bit on the darker side. It's kind of taking, this picture of this is very, very astute on it. And there's a lot more original pieces on here. Like Crazy for Christmas, Snow Waltz, Magic, and Ice Storm, as well as Christmas Time with You. But there's also some, classics, some traditional stuff like God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, Feliz Navidad, Joy to the World, Little Drummer Boy, O Come Come, O Emmanuel, O Holy Night, Deck the Halls, and all that. So, you get a really good smattering. And some of my all-time favorite Christmas carols on here. O Come, Emmanuel is probably one of my all-time favorite Christmas tracks. It's just so haunting, so beautiful in that. As well as O Holy Night. So, there's a lot of really deep stuff on this one. Love it. And then finally, the last Christmas album that I picked up this year was Christmas in the Air by Mannheim Steamroller, or I guess by Chip Davis. This is another re-release. He's been re-releasing a number of the Christmas albums throughout the years, and this is just the next one. There was another one at the store, but I decided to pick up this one because it has some of my favorites of his. Some really, really good stuff on this one. So yeah, that kind of helped round out the Christmas stuff on here. The next was at that Cops record store. The prices of some of these records were incredible. Absolutely incredible. So I got all these for like under $4. The first one is my favorite Stanley Clarke album, the Modern Man. Love how proggy he gets on this one. Love how big and experimental he gets on it. It's probably one of his more poppy pieces, but man, I love how crazy it gets as well. I also finally broke down and got Yes's Tornado. I have it in picture disc, but I always find that the picture disc sound quality is never that great. But yeah, this kind of helps round out the Yes stuff for that one. And yeah, not necessarily my favorite of theirs. This is probably the first album of theirs that I was just like, oh, I'm kind of lackluster over. But it still has some of the, some pretty good stuff, like The Circus of Heaven, Don't Kill the Whale. Onward is pretty fun. Definitely far and away from their best work. And then finally, again, under $3, I got Jean-Michel Jarre, the Concerts in China. I haven't had a chance to dive in and listen to this one yet, but I've heard a lot about it. I know that Jean-Michel Jarre always put on some really, really interesting live performances. I actually got to see him once. Great live performance. And yeah, I'm really excited to dive into this one. And it was like under $3, so I couldn't say no to that. Okay, diving more into some like jazz fusion stuff. I've been really getting into some like really classic jazz stuff. And I decided to pick up more of a Herbie Hancock. This one is Crossings. Again, I haven't had a chance to listen to this because I've been really deep into the Christmas music lately. But I hope to put this one on soon. But if it's from Herbie Hancock, I'm excited and I know it's going to sound pretty good. Now, I was actually hemming and hawing over this next one. This is Omnium Gatherum from King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Part of the reason why I was a little hesitant about this album is that, this album's a little bit of a mixed grab bag, and it's meant to be so. The styles are all over the place. It doesn't have a cohesive theme or style on it. It's just, here's a bunch of tracks that we had lying around and that we were working on over the pandemic. And these tracks range from brilliant and some of their best, like The Dripping Tap and Magenta Mountain, with some of their less than stellar tracks, like I'm not even gonna get into that because I'd rather highlight what I love about this album. So yeah, when I saw it, I thought, yeah, sure, like there's enough on here to justify picking it up. I was honestly looking for Changes and Laminated Denim, but I have a feeling I probably won't be looking at that one until the new year just because of all the other records that need to be pressed between then and now. While we're on this, let's talk about a few other albums that were released this year, and let's talk about two albums from pop artists that I really liked. The first one is The Loneliest Time from Carly Rae Jepsen, probably my favorite pop album of the year. The Loneliest Time, the title track of this, is probably my favorite track of the year. But even with that, it has such a great lineup of pop tracks. I really find myself returning to this album time and time again. I think Carly, it's probably her most mature album. Might not necessarily be her strongest or most cohesive album, but definitely her most mature album. And I've been having a really fun time with this one. And pretty much the same can be said about Midnights from Taylor Swift. I was looking for the variant cover where she's lying on the bench with the piano behind her, but this is the closest one that I can find, and it's a little bit of a marketing ploy to get all four because there's 4 variant covers, and if you put them all together you get the clock running through it. So this one has from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, which is part of the reason why they have the listing of the tracks up front. But yeah, this is an album that's been growing on me. The more I listen to it, the more I get out of it. Again, maybe not necessarily Taylor Swift's strongest album or most cohesive album, but probably her most mature album. And, I do come back to it. I do love You're On Your Own, Kid, probably my favorite track, because, track number 5. But Marooned, Antihero, Vigilante Shit, and Karma, well, not Karma, not a big fan of Karma, but Sweet Nothings. There's enough to dive in and really sink your teeth into. Oh, another one that I found that was relatively inexpensive. I think this one's like $5 or something. It's another live album from Tangerine Dream. Pergamon, I think is how you pronounce it. Pergamon. This is live at the Palace der Republik, GDR. It's just one track across 2 sides of the album. What is it? Quixote, Part 1 and 2. Recorded back in 1980. Recorded live East Berlin on January 31st, 1980. And then released, I believe, in 1986. So, I'm excited to dive in. Again, I haven't had a chance to dive into most of these just because I've been diving a lot into the Christmas music. Okay, the final 2 records were ones that I probably spent a little bit too much on, but once I saw them in the record stores, I could not leave without them. The first one is one of my all-time favorite Rush albums, Rush's Clockwork Angels, their only concept album. I will reiterate that again. Their only concept album. Okay? So yeah, Clockwork Angels, love it. Very, Clockwork's right in it, so very steampunky. Love the storyline, the actual tracks on here, Caravan, the title track, BU2B. Love the records and Headlong Flight. Some of Rush's best work. This really goes to show that even in their twilight years, Rush were putting out stellar albums that were the top of their games, like Vapor Trails, Snakes and Arrows, and this one, their final 3 albums, some of their best work. So yeah, when I saw this one on the display there, I had to go home with it. And finally, the last one of the bunch, the one that I spent. Oh boy. The one that I spent the most on, Amputexture from Mars Volta. Yeah, this one's one of my favorite of theirs. Love the first 2 tracks on here, and I mean, it's just the actual album artwork itself. I know they wanted to use Storm, who they used for their first 2 albums, Francis the Mute and Deloused in the Crematorium. And he actually did a mock-up. You can find the original concept art for this album, that Storm Thurstenberg, I think it is. I always just call him Storm because I can never pronounce his last name. Just jaw-droppingly beautiful. So, yeah, with this album, I'm only missing their most recent album. And then I have all the ones that I want, because I don't really want Goliath, and I don't really want Tourniquet. So, yeah, and there's one last one. There was one that I got in the mail a couple weeks ago, and that is the Devin Townsend Lightwork. So it's in with my Devin Townsend stuff right here. I'll just bring it out to show. It's like, oh, there it is. Yeah, here it comes. Yeah, Devin Townsend Lightwork. They didn't do a very good job at packaging it, so it's all scratched, and I don't know if you'll be able to see, but it's all bent right through here, and there's a pretty substantial crease throughout here. It's all bent and dog-eared here as well. It's always kind of a hit and miss when it comes to ordering stuff online and getting it in the mail, because yeah, it's all creased and all banged up. I'm pretty sure it's been thrown around a few times. What are you going to do? Anyway, those are the albums. What was your favorite album out of the mix? What was your most surprising album out of the mix? Let me know all about that by commenting down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I figured this would be a nice little light-hearted video for a Monday morning. And I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are getting into the holly jolly spirit. At the end of this week, we're into December, so there's only a month left before the big day or the big Christmas holiday spirit. And I hope you guys are having fun throughout this. I hope you guys are staying safe, and you get some good jollies within it as well. And if Christmas isn't your scene, I just hope you're having a good time. I hope you're having a fantastic time out there. And that's all I've got for you guys today. That's all I got. So thank you all so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.